on time, so please come on in.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, I've seen everybody.
And if our panelists could come to the front and be seated. One minute warning. Un minuto.
Oh, I do get again. Wow.
Thirty seconds.
So I'm gonna bring the students up now. I gotta take off, but my said co-worker John gets recorded. I have the record right now, so it's not even working. Thank you.
I'm not sure which one. Yeah.
Whenever I get this one, I'm gonna bring the students up.
Thank you as always.
Right. 15 seconds.
Sorry?
We good? All right. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Guido Minaya. I'm the vice chair, and I'm standing in for our chair, Mark Stevens, who's on a flight to Africa to go on safari with his family. For the record, we're recording this session because this is extremely valuable information I think that we're all going to hear. And for the record, welcome to the Horizon Council General Membership Meeting. I call this meeting to order, June 23rd at 8:30, and we're here at Florida Southwestern State College. If we could stand for a Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if we could have member introductions, we're going to go around the room, and our membership is going to briefly introduce themselves. Well, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ray Sandelli, Lee County Commissioner, District 3.
Good morning, Laura Carr, City of Bonita Springs Council, District 3.
Good morning, Adam Palmer, Landquest Commercial Sports Council Committee.
Karen Moore, Southwest Florida Business Today and Inclusion and Diversity Committee Chair.
Holly Smith, Councilwoman for the City of Sanibel and President of the Horizon Foundation.
Good morning, Ben Spence. I am the CFO of Lee Health, and I am the Secretary for the Horizon Council.
Good morning, Robbie Rebstorff, Edison National Bank, Bank of the Islands, and I represent the Industrial Development Authority.
Good morning, Ben Siegel, Lee County Port Authority.
Good morning, John Meyer, Hodges University.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Albritton. What's the name of this? Oh, Florida Southwestern State College.
Gerard Carrington, Florida Gulf Coast University.
Good morning, Sam Fisher, Lee County School Board Vice Chair.
Matt Price, IDA. Can I say the Horizon too? I don't even know what else I'm on. A couple other things probably.
All right, Tom Houlihan representing the Industrial Development Authority.
Gary Tasman, Cushman Wakefield Commercial Property and Chairman of the Business Issues Committee.
Tom Mueller, Covanta Energy, representing the Chamber of Southwest Florida.
Jackie Lezak, President of Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce and Fort Myers Beach Fire Commissioner.
Donna Germain, President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of Cape Coral.
Randy Chris Commercial Group, representing the Lee County Port Authority Airport Special Management Committee.
Good morning, Ryan Richards, RG Architects, representing the American Institute of Architects.
Good morning, everyone. Molly Scott with Christelle Construction, representing Associated Builders and Contractors.
Good morning, Mike Biskey with B&I Contractors, representing CareerSource Southwest Florida.
Good morning, Richard Durling with Marvin Homes, representing the Lee Building Industry Association.
Good morning, Eric Lane, representing Leadership Next, the Greater Fort Myers Chamber of Commerce, and the Salvation Army.
Good morning, Jay Johnson, Bubba's Roadhouse, representing the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, Lee County Chapter.
Hello, everybody. Alan Canfield, Lee County Sheriff's Office, standing in for Sheriff Carmine Marcino.
Good morning, Lori Moore with Retzel and Andrus, here representing the Real Estate Investment Society.
Good morning, Nancy Carista, representing Sherm, Southwest Florida.
Good morning, Bill Welch, CareerSource Southwest Florida, representing Southwest Regional Manufacturing Association.
Buenos dias, Edie Button, Cashflow Strategies Business Coaching, Southwest Florida Hispanic Chamber Chair.
Tony Loppe, representing the Tourist Development Council, and with Twin Waters Inn and Sanibel Captiva Beach Resorts.
Lee Ford, at large, member.
Mary Gentile, LandQuest Property Management, member at large.
Good morning, Gary Griffin, B&I Contractors, member at large.
Joseph Janashka, SunWest Bank, at large.
Good morning, Bev Larson, ERE Lahaina Realty, member at large.
Dean Picciarello, HBKS Wealth Advisors, member at large.
Matt Repsdorf, Pratt & Whitney, at large.
Chris Spiro, Spiro & Associates, large.
All right. Well, thank you all and welcome again. Now we're going to move to the approval of the minutes for our general membership meeting of May 12th, 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. There is no chairman's report today because our chairman, again, is in flight. But we do have our former chair of our sports committee, Bob Koenig, who has retired, and he's moved to North Carolina to be closer to family. And we have a new sports committee chair, Adam Palmer. Welcome, Adam. But we would like to thank Bob for all of his contributions, not only to the sports committee, but he was also a former chair. So you can see a long-term commitment to our organization. And now we have our foundation report from the Woman of the Year and Chair of the Horizon Foundation, Madam Chair.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to report on our foundation activity from our June 14th minutes. And our financial committee met, and we made a recommendation to diversify our holdings. We put out an RFP to all of the banking investors that we have with the Horizon Council Horizon Foundation. And what we did is we put in a blind format the proposals to come back. We need to be good stewards of your money. And for a long time, it had been making absolutely zero in any of our holding banks. So we decided to look and see what better opportunities there were. And we had some really great feedback. We did choose 3 of our institutions to move the money to. Of course, we want to stay around that $250,000 and under for the FDIC requirements, so we were able to do that. So we are going to be able to finally maximize the use of those funds, and we unanimously passed those at the recommendation of the Finance Committee, and it was approved by our board members on the 14th. As a reminder, we have Industry Appreciation Awards October 27th. Make sure you mark your calendar, please. But more importantly, if you have anyone or know of anyone that you would like to nominate, you can self-nominate for our Industry Appreciation Awards. That window is closing. So at the end of the month, we will be closing for the applications. We want to make sure that everyone does have the opportunity. So if you haven't yet, put in a nomination, or if you would like to, please do so. That's a very exciting awards day. It will be our 30th anniversary, so we're looking forward to a really great event. And I know this is way early, but our annual meeting, we have tentatively held the date for February 2nd. Is that confirmed, Mr. Talmadge? I believe so. So let's put that date on our calendar as well. The more that we get ready for that, then the more participation that we'll have. So we're looking forward to that. For our marketing, Priority Marketing has been doing an amazing job on behalf of both your council and the Horizon Foundation. And they are working hard to get the information out through our social media, all of their different avenues in regards to everything foundation. So want to make sure that you do take the opportunity to like, share, and promote the Horizon Foundation through social media, and you can do so at #Horizon Foundation. And we're all here to network and to promote Lee County. That's what we do. And the Horizon Council and the Horizon Foundation members, we are the ambassadors for Lee County business. So let's make sure that we promote what we are here, what the foundation is, because that's only going to further promote Lee County. And that's the job that we have. Although Lee County does a great job of promoting themselves, we are one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. But let's make sure that our voices of our businesses are right up there for the advisory position that we have to the Lee County BOCC. I wanted to let you know that although Mark is flying off to Africa, which I think we're all probably going to be looking forward to hearing about that trip, what we want to know is how we can improve for you. So if there's anything that you think that we can do to help in any way, to promote in a way that maybe we haven't or could, please let us know, because how we promote is again, how we can promote all of the Horizon Council for Lee County. Although that we're going to be taking a hiatus for a meeting, be assured that we are still going to be working. Hope to be working, getting together, John Talmadge, Mark, and I, in regards to strategic planning for the Horizon Foundation, ideas that we have as we're moving forward. So while there might be a little bit of a breath in a meeting, there will not be a breath for the work that's being done on your behalf. Our current committed investment status as of the June 14th meeting is $365,000. Bill Johnson is here in the audience. Thank you, Bill. And of course, we are working towards that $500,000 goal that we have for this year. And we realize that it's a difficult year. A lot of things have been in play, as I don't need to mention in our faces, but we still need to work towards and keep those investments coming so we can invest that back in the community. So again, we will not have a meeting next month. I hope that you all have a great little break, and we will see you again in August. Thank you very much. Vice Chair Minaya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, and now from our esteemed Commissioner, Ray Sandelli, BOCC remarks.
Well, good morning. It's a good day when whether it's Mark or Guido here, I don't move the microphone, so everything's falling into place. I made a few comments the other night, and I highlighted the things in yellow just so I can remind myself. But Holly, hold your pad up there. I saw her walk up there, and she's got everything in yellow, and I thought, I still have room to improve, so anyhow. Well, look, we have been very busy at the county. We're working on a number of issues. We tried to get as much as we could in before the BOCC meeting and the zoning committee before recess. And I will tell you that since I've been in office, nobody ever told me about this recess. I just kind of keep coming to work and stuff like this. I just found out about this. I'm going to try to take a little bit of time. But our formal meetings, while they won't be scheduled, as Holly said, we're still available and working every day and moving things forward. What we're doing right now is we're trying to get a real feel for the revenue picture, as we all are, whether it's personally or professionally. How's that going to play out, and what do we have to work with, and try to annualize that and roll that into a forecast for next year. Same with expenses. Timing of reimbursements is playing a big part for all of us. We know we've got some money coming. When's that going to come? It's a process, and a process takes time, and time is something that frustrates all of us. The other piece is that based on all of that, where's our gaps in cash flow and how we cover that. So it's been a pretty intense time, from a planning perspective. While we're doing that, though, we have near-term needs. And so our Tier 1 priorities are staying in place. We just had the groundbreaking, for the Big Carlos Bridge as an example, and that's underway. I was down the beach yesterday, and the guys are working already. One of the things that we've talked about, and I was particularly interested in this panel, is hurricane preparation. What did we learn? What are we planning for? How do we carry forward? So everybody pay attention. Also, like I said, we're working on the near-term needs. Zoning and permitting has been arduous for all of us. And so we've increased some staff. We looked at hours differently, so we're trying to do that. At the same time, we're looking at those long-term things which you can't forget about, such as waste energy and how we move that forward from the long term. I'm amazed at the amount of time it takes to do that. A few things on the Barrier Islands, and Holly and some of the other folks here can do that. But I was down Fort Myers Beach. I'm down there at least 1 day a week. And Margaritaville is coming along. I talked to Tom Torgerson yesterday. They're going to be opening in the fall, and it's really looking good. I want to get inside and see it from the inside out. The Pink Shell is open. It's interesting to see people coming in, and they got all their stuff. Just flew in from Wisconsin. They got all their stuff, and they turn the corner, and there's the beach. Yes! And Holly, I think, said something. I stopped and talked to as many as I could. We are ambassadors to welcome these people to our community. It's not just the beach. It's how we make them feel welcome and stuff like that. Some of the support stuff is opening. Public's open, down at the beach, and stuff like that was great. Quick story. When the storm hit, a few people that live close by went in and took some things that they needed. They made a list of all of those things. And when the public's open, they went back, here's what we took, and here's a check. So you want to talk about the culture of the county, the culture of the beach. That's the best of who we are in the worst of times. 7-Eleven and some of the others coming back, which means to me that those entities, whether it's CVS or somebody else, is seeing the opportunity. They're coming back and committing to us as we commit to the community. You probably heard some of the chatter between Captiva and Sanibel this past week. We had a long meeting and stuff like this. But what I want to say is that these are important to our community, and we're all dealing with the issues of height and density, and we'll get there. But it's not an easy task, and there's a lot of emotions in this. But we got a lot of good people to work to figure it out. The beaches are open, Lighthouse Beach, Blind Pass, so on and so forth. Mucky Duck is back running among others, and so on and so forth. So it feels better every day. And again, I think we're all ambassadors. I think mentioned Roger DeLeger, our county manager, is retiring at the end of July. Dave Harner is taking his place, a great guy. And if you don't know him and would like to meet him, I'd be happy to make that introduction. And finally, speaking of travel, I went out to Denver with my wife a couple weeks ago. My son ran his first Ironman, and I'm telling you, it motivates you, and you go, with enough time, I could do that. And that's exactly the reaction I got. And my daughter says, Dad, she goes, start training. As soon as the first 10-man event, we'll sign you up. Have a great weekend. Anything new on Lover's Key? Not really, for right now. I mean, we just started the bridge work, which will tie the south end of Fort Myers Beach to Lover's Key. And I was out there yesterday, and we cut the ribbon, and the next day they were doing some work on it. But beyond that, not right now. Okay. We did bring a ton of sand in, for the beaches and everything. The quality of the sand has been terrific. So we're moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Oh, all right. John Talmadge has yielded his time because this is such an excellent panel and he wants us to maximize it. And before we get started with the panel, our former chair, Gary Griffin, will introduce our nonprofit minute speaker.
Good morning. It's my privilege this morning to introduce to you a representative of the American Cancer Society. If you look to your right and you look to your left, probably one of the persons on either side of yourself has been impacted personally by cancer. I lost my father to cancer in 1972. I was only 9 years old, so it's very personal to me, and I know to a lot of you in this audience, unfortunately, you've had some very terrible personal experiences with cancer. But during my lifetime, tremendous progress has been made, and much of that progress is due to the American Cancer Society and the work that they do, whether it's research, screening, treatment, or just supporting victims to make the end of their lives comfortable. They are at the forefront of cancer treatment. Many of you know the American Cancer Society. They've been a part of our community for many years. They have great events. The Relay for Life is a tremendous event that is a great opportunity for corporate sponsors to come in and to have great events that your employees can participate in. The same with the Making Strides event, which is a 5K. And most of us have heard of the Cattle Baron Ball, which is a great Western-themed ball that draws a lot of attention. Those events took a hit during COVID, like a lot of events that we've all enjoyed over the years. But American Cancer Society is really ramping back up. But they need corporate sponsors and they need help to raise the money that's going to provide those services that I just described. So today, we're fortunate to have Nina Gasparini. She's the Associate Director of Development for the American Cancer Society. She covers Lee, Charlotte, and Collier counties. And again, she's going to tell us a bit about the work they're doing and how we can help drive that work forward. Nina?
Good morning, everyone. I am a recent transplant to Southwest Florida, and I just have to say I'm amazed at the community and the collaboration I've been seeing over my past 2 years, and I'm honored to be here today to tell you a little bit about the American Cancer Society. Plain and simple, we're here to help the lives of cancer patients and their families. Many of you know us for our research, but we really do so much more. We advocate for life-saving policy changes. We promote healthy lifestyles to help you prevent cancer. We research cancer and its causes to get better answers and find better treatments. We provide information, answers, and support for cancer patients in every community, and we've been doing it for 110 years. Last year alone, 55 million lives were impacted by our work. Let me dig into those three pillars just a little bit more. ACS is the largest non-government funder in cancer research in the world. Since our inception, we have invested $5 billion in cancer research. And those breakthroughs are preventing, treating, and detecting cancer. The cancer mortality rate, as Gary mentioned, has decreased 33% since 1991, but there is still much to be done. You may have heard the Cancer Moonshot activity of which we are involved, and we are looking to reduce the cancer rate in half in the next 25 years. It's an ambitious goal, but as you know, even in Lee County, we do ambitious goals here. Our advocacy work removes barriers to care so people in every community can access those breakthroughs. If we're to succeed in our mission to end cancer, it won't just happen in a doctor's office or in a research lab. It's going to happen on the State House floor and in Congress. We're advocating for greater advances in research, testing, and insurance coverage. Through direct patient support, we connect people with essential services that will allow them through their cancer journey to be supported. Because while cancer affects everyone, it does not affect everyone equally. And we're here to give a fair and just opportunity for people to prevent, detect, treat, and survive cancer. In terms of prevention, there are some sobering facts. 1.9 billion people will be diagnosed with cancer in this year alone. What is even wilder is that half of those would be completely preventable with current cancer screenings. 1 in 4 people are not current with their cancer screenings today. So if I can give you one action step, besides supporting us like Gary mentioned, it is to talk to your doctors and get your cancer screenings. There's information at each one of your seats about those recommended guidelines. But that will help us move this needle forward. Once diagnosed, ACS has a cancer helpline that is available for patients through their journey, as well as a wealth of resources and guides and support groups so that no one is facing this journey alone. In addition, there's some specific designated county funding. We've been able to offer some direct patient services right here in Lee and Collier counties. The number one reason people are not seeking treatment is because of a lack of reliable transportation. That was impacted even further after the loss of so many cars during Hurricane Ian. We are honored that we have begun a program of giving transportation grants to both Lee and Collier health systems to allow them to work with their patients to provide gas cards, Lyft rides, or whatever so that they can get themselves to their treatments. In the past year, over $60,000 has been granted in this county alone. We also offer a program called Road to Recovery. It's a volunteer program that allows volunteers to drive people to and from their treatments. That is a program that, as many took a hit during COVID. We're here to bring it back and build it up. So if you are aware of people that might be interested in volunteering in that service, please do talk to me after the meeting. In addition to transportation, lodging is also an issue. And many people have to travel for their treatment up to Tampa at Moffitt or to Jacksonville at Mayo. And we have a series of Hope Lodges, hotels that are available for people to stay during their cancer treatment. In 2022, we provided over 2,000 room nights to Lee and Collier County residents. That is a savings of over $125,000 for these families. ACS is a 1 million volunteer strong led organization and staff supported. There are so many ways we can get involved. Gary highlighted our various events, as well as that Road to Recovery program, our ACS Cancer Advocacy Network, and many other things. I hope you'll take an opportunity to come and chat with me afterwards. We can make change through communities, and this community is strong, and we hope that you'll partner with us because our work matters, and we would love to be able to end cancer as we know it for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. We have a top panel presenting to us today, and this important topic, this is being recorded, so we have an audio of this presentation, and is that valuable? So if you have folks that couldn't attend, we can direct you to that audio recording. This topic comes to us as an initiative from the Business Issues Committee, and our committee chair, Gary Tasman, is going to take it from here.
Good morning, everybody. So I just briefly want to explain what the Business Issues Committee is doing this year and how this integrates into a year-long program that we're working on and then culminates with a deliverable. So right now, this is the first presentation, and what we're trying to find out is from the business community, lessons learned, best practices in preparation in every facet of your business, and then what to do in regards to recovery. So from this, we're going to put together a survey, which FTCU will be distributing, and then from that, we'll have a workshop. Then we'll have a deliverable, which is going to be really oriented to smallest businesses or smaller businesses. So it's going to be a 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 page document that has a single source for resources for readiness, preparation, and then recovery. So to introduce our panel, John Lay, I want to introduce. John is the president and CEO of Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce. That's a premier business organization on Sanibel and Captiva with 450 members. And the Francis Bailey Visitor Center, which is open 365 days a year and has over 80,000 visitors a year. Professionally, John has been in the hospitality and tourism industry for over 30 years and a resident of Lee County for over 30 years. He's operated resorts on Sanibel, Captiva, Clearwater, and Vero Beach. John joined the staff in 2017 and was promoted to president and CEO in 2018. John is past president of Lee County chapter of the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association and currently serves as the regional director for Lee, Collier, and Charlotte counties. John serves on the boards of directors of Visit Florida as their chair-elect. He serves on the board of Lee County Sports, is the immediate past chair of the Florida Association of Chamber Professionals, and is on the Economic Recovery Branch of Resilient Lee, the Lee County Hurricane Recovery Task Force. John has been married to his wife, Amy, for 24 years and has 2 children, Zachary and Emma, who both graduated from University of South Florida in St. Petersburg. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much, Gary. And thank you all for allowing me to be here today. If any of you know my wife, which I think a lot of you do, it's actually 25 years. I need to update that. I did know that, and so I think that we should let the record show that that is just a mistake. But today it is my absolute proud privilege and honor to moderate this esteemed and diverse panel who will share their expertise and experiences in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. This community has been incredibly impacted by the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history, and our panelists are uniquely positioned today to provide insight into the lessons learned from this disaster. We hope that their perspectives will help us to better understand the challenges faced by this community and how we can work together to build a more resilient future. And as she always started her council meetings, I asked former Mayor Holly Smith how many days it's been, and she did one better. It's been 269 days, but 23,241,600 seconds, 387,360 minutes, 6,456 hours, 38 weeks and 3 days. But who's counting? We are. I'm proud to inform you all that, yes, what Gary said, except for how many years I've been married, is true. Our visitor center is reopened. It is open 365 days, and we have over 200 businesses that are open right now on Sanibel and Captiva Island. Between Sandcap, Fort Myers Beach, Matlacha, our coast needs your support now more than ever. So, shameless plug, I have the mic, so I'm going to ask you, please, make a date night in the next week and come out and see the beaches, visit the restaurants and shops that are there for you. I also have the dubious honor today of reading these long bios of these esteemed panelists, so bear with me as I refer to my notes. Today we're going to hear from Dan Adams. He is the Executive Vice President of South Florida partner at Stevens Construction. Since joining Stevens Construction as Senior Project Manager in 2011, Dan quickly rose to the top of the management team, proving his ability to deliver clients' projects on budget, on schedule, and with the highest of quality. Dan leads all project management and field operations for the Fort Myers office, completing notable projects such as multiple locations of PopStroke, Find Mark National Bank headquarters, France Eye Care's new corporate headquarters and surgery center, and Sage at Oak Creek. Additionally, Dan oversees the Fort Myers Special Projects Division, who focuses on renovations, tenant improvements, repairs, and additions under $1 million. A lead accredited professional and Florida licensed general contractor, the Fort Myers native earned his bachelor's degree in building construction from the University of Florida. Dan has also earned healthcare construction certification from the American Society for Healthcare Engineering and Infection Control certification. Dan is very enthusiastic about supporting his community. Let me catch my breath. Give him a round of applause, please.
I'll talk to Jody about paring that down.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. He is very accomplished. Next, I've got Richard Aiken. He is a stockholder at Henderson, Franklin, Starnes, and Holt. He represents business and individuals in land use, permitting, and zoning matters and licensing issues. Beyond his professional achievements, Richard holds various leadership positions within the community. He serves on the Board of Governors for the Real Estate Investment Society and is a member of the Board of Directors for the Calusa Nature Center and Planetarium. Richard also actively contributes to the Lee County Charter Review Commission and Horizon Council. Round of applause, please. Helen Edenfield has been in the healthcare industry for 30-plus years, focusing on radiology, nephrology, and lab operations for cancer genetic diagnostics. Over the last 20 years, she served in supervisor, manager, and director roles for NeoGenomics laboratories. In her current position as Global Director of Facilities and Services, she has oversight of real estate facilities, biomedical, business continuity, EHS, and securities. Her professional interest focuses on organization quality and compliance, change management, equality, and staff development. Although her position has global oversight, she strongly advocates for the development of Southwest Florida. She is married to her high school sweetheart and has 2 wonderful children and 5 amazing grandchildren. Calling Fort Myers home, she has resided in Southwest Florida for 40-plus years. Welcome, Helen. Thank you. All right. Matt Simmons is a native of Southwest Florida and a graduate of the Lutgard College of Business at Florida Gulf Coast University. He joined the appraisal profession in 2003 and joined Maxwell and Hendry Valuation Services in 2005, serving as the residential division manager until becoming a partner of the firm in 2013. Maxwell, Hendry, and Simmons provides appraisal and consulting services for commercial and residential real estate in the 5-county region. He leads the firm's efforts in specialized studies, including value impact studies and economic impact studies. Matt also manages the day-to-day commercial valuation services functions of the firm. Matt is past president of the Real Estate Investment Society, is an FHA, HUD approved appraiser, and has served as a guest lecturer at FGCU for several years. Matt is qualified as an expert witness in Florida District Court, in U.S. District Court, and in several jurisdictions outside of Florida. He's been recognized as an expert on value and economic impacts in Southwest Florida, in several Florida planning jurisdictions regarding applications for zoning and land use changes. He's a licensed broker and consults commercial and residential investors in income-producing acquisitions. In 2012, Matt was appointed by Governor Rick Scott to serve on the Florida Real Estate Appraisal Board. He is the youngest appointee in the history of that board and served as a 2014 chairman. During his term of service, he focused on issues of license enforcement and rulemaking associated with the administrative code application to real estate appraisers, instructors, and appraisal management companies. Everyone, welcome Matt Simmons. And John Wright, thank you for being here and for having this beautiful bio. John Wright joined St. Cap Community Bank in April 2020 and is currently the Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Financial Officer of the bank. John moved permanently to Fort Myers in March 2020 after spending all of his life in Maryland. John is also the chairman of FSW State College Foundation. Thank you very much, John Wright. Everyone, please join me in welcoming our distinguished panelists today. The purpose of today's conversation, as mentioned earlier, is really to spur a conversation between this panel and this audience. And I'm going to ask each and every one of you, if you have a question that you feel needs to be addressed, or you have a question that you feel that you've gotten answered but needs to go on record today, please pose that question. We're going to have a roving mic around the room, so if you raise your hand, that would be great. We will get this over to you. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with a question that I have, being from Sandmont Captiva, and it's going to be regarding the 50-50 rule. When we first saw the damage that was caused by Ian, we were really, really concerned that most of our properties on the coastal areas would be impacted by that. What has been the anticipated impact of that 50-50 rule, particularly on commercial properties and those with condos or shared ownership?
Thanks, John. I'll jump on that, and sorry about the bio. I like long walks on the beach and paper mache projects and
noted.
Yeah. So the 50% rule was obviously something in the early days that was pretty terrifying to have to face as a community. We thought early on at our firm, and I think it ultimately has played out this way, that the impacts have been less severe than initially feared. The way that the rule works, the way that you can demonstrate structure value, from a methodological standpoint, it actually is more favorable than I think what people expected. So I think we're seeing far more property owners decide to raise a property for understandable and practical reasons than we're seeing true victims purely of just the 50% rule. Just based on the way that it works, by and large, it takes a really extreme scenario to leave someone completely unable to come back under the rule. Those situations exist completely. And frankly, I think to a certain extent, we've had to reconcile as a community with the fact that some of these rules, the flood maps, the elevation requirements, frankly, have been validated significantly. And I've been an ill-informed cynic in the past, perhaps, as it relates to some of those issues, but we've all had to deal with the fact that realistically, the worst-case scenario played itself out pretty consistently with what the map suggested was possible. So I think the rule has been less devastating than initially feared. I think our municipalities, by and large, have done an incredible job working through the technical issues. Among those issues being how to wrestle with condos versus standalone buildings, the fact that you can operate permit by permit now in every jurisdiction. That's another way that for the most part folks can come back. The part that's tricky that I think it's still taken a little while for most municipalities to wrestle with is dealing with condo associations. Because what FEMA cares about is the structure, regardless of how ownership is demised inside of a building. So, and this is something, frankly, that a lot of condo associations and unit owners are having to face, is the fact that we all know when you buy into a condo association, you're kind of buying into a marriage of sorts with a group of property owners, for better or worse. This is one of those issues that really brings that dynamic and that relationship to light, because you can have a building with 10 unit owners. You're all operating off of a single number for the structure. And that was a confusing issue early on, whether individual unit owners needed structure value appraisals, which is conceptually something that really can't even be done. But basically, if you've got 10 unit owners, you have a single structure value, and maybe the exterior association responsibilities are coming off of that number, and then the interior unit owners for permits have a collective balance that's left that they're all drafting off of. So you can imagine there's some situations where, say in that 10-unit building, the first unit owner comes in for their permit. I'd rather be the first unit owner coming in than the 10th for obvious reasons. So there's some complicated issues as it relates to the rules that I think moving forward condo associations are going to have to deal with. But by and large, I think we've performed really well as a community, and the rule hasn't been as devastating as we initially feared.
Just a follow-up to that, Matt. Do we know how many structures have had to be destroyed, demolished, both residential and commercial?
There were a couple of estimates early on that. I don't think we've really got reliable, up-to-date numbers, in my view. Somebody else might have a thought on that about what I haven't seen anything that I thought is definitely actionable. And even inside of that, again, the question remains, there's a lot of folks who are going to decide to raise a structure because it makes economic sense, not necessarily because it can't come back under the 50% rule. Right. Not a number I think I'd feel comfortable enough saying right now. Yeah. Others might.
We have a question on the right. Your left. Sorry, Tatum.
Good morning. Would like to get some advice on dealing with contractors in the immediate aftermath of the storm, and also part two of that would be understanding the basics on how the insurance looks at the issues related to the repairs, please.
You want to take that? Yep, please. You push the button. There you go.
Well, first and foremost, advice would be hire a licensed and insured contractor. So Well, we have a lot of out-of-towners flooding town to help us out. We do appreciate that. We appreciate the ones that are good, reputable contractors. There's many that aren't. So the advice would be, one, check them out. Don't sign anything right away. Do reference checks if possible for these out-of-town guys that are coming. Do your due diligence. Make sure they're licensed and insured, and understand what you're signing. I mean, I can tell you the many horror stories of clients that have come to us after the fact and said, we had no idea we were signing up to have XYZ done, and now we've got this giant bill and our insurance company is denying us. So fully vet them. Take the time to vet whoever it is you're hiring, whether it's a local or out-of-state contractor.
Thanks, Daniel. Sorry. Thanks, Daniel. Quick question. If someone has hired a contractor and early in the process have decided that they haven't vetted them properly, or that the information that they were given was not accurate, what steps can you take to circumvent that or to correct that?
I would call Richard.
Richard, would you mind? Sure, thanks, Dan. So I think there's a couple of different parts to that question. You know, the first one is if you've got a scenario where you hired somebody who you found out didn't have the proper licensure, that's one thing. And if that was the case, you get into it and you find out they didn't have the licensure necessary to do the job that you hired them to do, then I think there's a couple of things you can do. You can either report them to the state licensing agencies, and I think that would give you a grounds to terminate their contract in most scenarios if they made false misrepresentations or made misrepresentations going on the front end. If it's not a scenario where they were unlicensed but just simply you're unhappy, usually it depends on the circumstances, right? So a lot of times there'll be an agreement, sometimes it's in writing and sometimes it's not, but you'll need to consult that. What does it say? You can terminate almost any relationship. There's always the question of after you terminate a contractual relationship, whether in writing or orally, the question is of damages, and you will have to pay them for work that they've legitimately performed and have to deal with liens and affidavits and things of that nature. But it can certainly be done, and I know that there are, in most cases, you just need to examine the nature of the relationship and agreement that you entered into and look at what your outs are.
Thanks. Great answer, Dan. Any other questions from the crowd?
I just want to reemphasize, if you get in that situation, you should call DBPR, Department of Business Professional Regulation. They need to know. They have an enforcement wing. It's probably understaffed, but at least they can keep the data and try to keep these unlicensed contractors on their list and take action against them.
Great.
With regards to the recovery, there's, of course, a lot of work that's going on out there that's not being permitted. And I think there's real concerns in the community and the industry at large of what the ramifications are of doing this work without permits. I think those people who perhaps don't really realize, they're in panic mode trying to get back into their homes. I don't think they realize the ramifications and what potentially the pitfalls are with doing this work without permits. It's very frustrating for the industry right now. I don't want to call any specific building department out, but some of these building departments are months behind in issuing permits. And there's really no relief in sight at this point because they're understaffed and they're trying to do the best they can. And, my hat's off to them because they're doing a yeoman's job, but they still have a long way to go. But in the meantime, there's lots of people who are doing this work without permits, and I don't think anybody really understands the consequences of that, so I'd like your response to that. Thank you.
So I'm happy to jump in again on this one a little bit. So I think that there's an array of consequences there. I think starting at the top, if you're a homeowner or a business owner and you do unpermitted work, you've got a challenge if you go to sell that structure at a later time, all right? And I think everyone understands that if you sell a home, especially in the residential market, you have to make disclosures regarding known defects at the property. And, there's a disclosure form that oftentimes is filled out, and it asks about modifications done to the property and whether they were permitted and whether all proper permits were pulled. If you get into doing a bunch of non-permitted work, one of the things that can ultimately result when you go to sell your home is you can have issues selling your home. You can have issues then having that person be able to get insurance when they go to buy the home. You can also run into insurability issues of your own home. You can run into issues where if you make an insurance claim, it's not covered. I think that there's, and the folks from Sanibel probably, I've heard some stories over there, they can probably talk about this, where people put they enclosed the first story and they put a whole bunch of stuff in there, and then they wind up realizing this is not insured, this was unpermitted work, and it creates all kinds of problems from, again, the insurance portion of it, as well as from the marketability and selling it a second time. The other issue, I think, is from, you can get into code violation issues with your local jurisdictions. So you can get issued a violation from the code department, and then you can have to ultimately, if you don't fix it, it can be costly. It can result in liens on your property. It can result in all kinds of issues from that standpoint. I also think that it remains to be seen the ultimate real effect of those types of things, because if there's work that's done that ultimately leads, when there's another disaster and there's future problems, what really is the insurability problem at that point in time? And we don't really know yet, right? We don't know how the insurance companies are going to treat a lot of that. But it is an issue, and I agree that there's a lot of folks that have done a lot of unpermitted work. We know that that's going on out there. But it is risky, and I'll tell you this, I've done in the past, I've represented a number of real estate brokers and been involved in lawsuits for non-disclosure issues. And we always see when the economy goes really well and there's a lot of sales, a lot of real estate sales, there's not so many of those lawsuits. But then when things slow down a little bit and folks are trying to sell their house again or sell their business again, they get into a scenario where, hey, I can't get for it what I thought I could get for it. Maybe I'm underwater. And that's when we see those types of lawsuits start to creep out with non-disclosure issues and issues about poor workmanship that was done when something wasn't permitted. And so I think that we will see more of that, and it becomes a liability issue for a lot of folks, especially when the work doesn't get permitted.
Thank you.
Hi, Matt.
Hi. My question is for Dan. You mentioned making sure that you vet these contractors properly for their license. What would you say is the best way to do that?
Ask for references. I mean, they should be able to provide you with references wherever they're from. Funny thing, we were prepping for this and going over questions. I think it was Gary brought up the question of these out-of-state contractors that are coming here. What should you do? What's the advice? And the first thing I said was don't hire them. But reality is we need them. We didn't have the workforce here to help with this recovery. So having the good, reputable ones here is helping our whole community. So they should be able to provide references, call them, check on them. You can check their license, DBPR. I mean, you can check and confirm that they are truly licensed and insured.
Hi, Matt. You had mentioned earlier about the condominium issues, and having been here all my life, there's obviously a lot of mid-rise, high-rise condos that were built a long time ago well below flood level. And I guess my big question right now is, what's going to happen to the first floor? You can't tear it down. I mean,
So a lot of the condo buildings that are substantial enough, there's enough structure value through the totality of the building to provide cover for rebuilding the ground level. So at least from a 50% rule standpoint, most of those are fine. The part that's gotten really tricky with some of the condo associations with the ground level is, and we've got a handful of clients on Sanibel that are dealing with it, is determining where the flood policy kicks in for damage to the units as opposed to hazard. And it's almost better in some situations to be able to tap in to the association's policy and be on those ground level units. There's just a really tricky dance among these unit owners of figuring out who's tapping into which policy. And I know we've got one client, again, in particular on Sanibel, that it is a complicated issue just even to figure out among themselves who theoretically is tapping into which policy before they even start any of the fights with the insurance companies or the fight between hazard and flood among them. So it's kind of a game of who's on first.
Good morning. Question for Richard. There's a lot of property owners that elected to secure counsel in filing their claims with their insurer. There seems to be some confusion out there on prevailing party attorney's fees. My understanding of the law was that previously, if that the insurer was on the hook for the insured's attorney fees, including the percentages towards the claims, and that law was recently changed by the state. But I'm wondering if there's any grandfathering, and if so, is the grandfathering retroactive to the date of the event, the date of the claim, the date of the suit? Any insight on that?
Yeah, so you're correct that the legislature changed the statute there recently. The answer to your question is kind of case specific and in some instances policy specific. So there is some retroactivity to the time of the loss and the time of the claim, when the claim was filed and the time when the lawsuit was filed. I think the date of the lawsuit being filed is, in most cases, the most important date as to whether you got in before the statutory change. But there may be some other factors that that will answer that question that are specific to each specific case. So if you have a claim and you have a scenario where you need to hire a lawyer, that lawyer should be able to look at your case and look at your policy and your claim data and answer that question on a case-by-case basis.
We've been talking about structures and insurance and all those types of issues. Helen, could you comment on our workforce, what they're facing right now as in the aftermath of the storm, and how do we prepare and look forward?
Sure. So for our workforce here in Fort Myers, we have about 450 staff members. So there's a lot of business continuity planning that we did before the hurricane that we follow. And, our employees are our number one asset. So we strive really hard to make sure that we're prepared to handle and take care of them. I will say in Irma, we were able to identify where each employee was within 24 hours of the storm. So we do have staff to be able to handle that. The number one thing that I would say that helps is having phone trees, because you can't have everybody doing that on their own. Updating employee contact information is extremely important. June 1st marked the beginning of our hurricane season, and the first thing that we did was send out emergency contact information, updating all of our lists to make sure that we had all of that. But taking care of our staff, making sure that they are well informed, so we send out a lot of information internally. We also educate people on hurricane preparedness, because we have a lot of people who have never experienced a hurricane and don't know, so we have to take that on and educate them. And then internally for our facility, we make sure that we are prepared to, in our new facility, actually house staff if they need it. We have showers that are there so they can come and do that. During Ian, we opened up our kitchen and made sure that we had hot meals available for not only our employees but their families. We also had showers and washers and dryers brought in. So during the recovery and the aftermath, they had all of that. And there's planning that goes into that. You have to contract with people and make sure that that's available. But I think the education part of it is the biggest advantage that we had, because people knew what to do. I spoke about Irma, but Ian, it took us 38 hours to make sure that we had everybody accounted for, and that was very, very nerve-wracking. People that we had in Pine Island and kind of that northern quadrant of Cape Coral, because comms were down and we couldn't contact them. So we actually physically had to go and check on them and make sure that they had everything that they needed. But I think that contact list, education, is the most important, and then knowing that they have a place where they can come to seek some refuge. We also provided fuel, so when we asked them to come into work, they weren't concerned about that, as well as their generators. So, but a lot of pre-planning and education.
One of the things that's really been important for this committee's work is to figure out in terms of preparation, and for getting our employees back to work so we can get back open was a really important component of that. I just want to move to the financial aspect. A lot of businesses and a lot of individuals, but for the purposes of this committee's work, John, can you give us insight on the financial impact, the financial recovery, and what we could learn about being ready for emergency assistance for the next one?
Sure. First, before I address that, Helen had mentioned the phone tree. One of the things that truly helped us was we have a notification system, and it's called Alert Media. And this system sends out a call, a text, and an email to all of our employees. And they go out simultaneously. And it allowed us to really communicate with our employees. And, that this system allows us to notify them whether the bank's going to open on time, whether it's going to, anything that's going on. But it also allows us to send out questionnaires and allowed us to have real-time responses. So we were able to quickly determine whether everybody was okay. We also could find out if someone needed help. There's one instance where we got back somebody did need help. And then we went back to the phone tree. So our chairman had called me and said that so-and-so needed help. And I'm like, no, they don't. I just talked to somebody and they said that person was fine. So, unfortunately, sometimes when you have technologies, they don't know how to read it. They give you the wrong answer. But, using technology, can be very wonderful. So I do urge everyone getting a notification system. The phone trees are fine, but the notification system really helped us out. So I urge that.
And John, sorry, just one quick thing. So since Ian, we actually have moved to Alert Media. So we are, as part of our business continuity, we did have a different system that did not work properly. So we moved over to Alert Media. We have it we have it for all of our locations. So yes, I get chimes and dings at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning for all kinds of things that is occurring, and it works really, really well. Just wanted to weigh on that.
So, the one thing that we did very quickly was we did come out with a deferred loan program, and we decided that we were going to do automatic 3-month extensions or 3-month deferred loan payments without asking anybody, why they needed it. One of the things that we really did want to stress to everybody was they were deferred loan payments. They were not forgivable loan payments. We were on the heels of PPP, and we wanted to make sure that people understood that this is your loan. This is not a government loan. These are going to be paid back. There were, unfortunately, some customers, once they found out that they was just deferred, oh, never mind. If I'm not getting something for free. So, and one of the other things that we wanted to do was we did not want, so we had a 1-page legal document that they signed, and the terms of the repayment was not defined. And we did that on purpose because we knew that everybody had high anxiety and there was a lot of unknowns. So we wanted to try to help the community, just alleviate their anxiety, tell them they're okay. Don't worry about your payment this month. Don't worry about your payment for the next couple months. We will get through it. And, what we have found is that the number of deferred payments for Ian was actually less than the number of deferred payments for COVID. So the delinquencies that we have, and I don't know about the other banks, but the delinquencies that we're experiencing are much less. I mean, they're almost non-existent. So the customers really are thriving. I mean, they're figuring out ways to continue. The insurance claims are extremely slow, and that is unfortunate. We are working with all the customers dealing with that. So, that's the one thing that, as a community bank, we are going to continue to do that. You know, as insurance checks come in, everybody comes into our office. We sit down with them. We decide whether we are going to put that money in escrow, whether we're going to pay the loan back, or whether we're just going to sign the check over to them and allow them to handle their own repairs. And they appreciate that. You know, unfortunately, when they're dealing with the larger institutions, they don't have that personal contact, and they get frustrated. So, you know, the one thing that we learn is to know your customers and deal with them as a person. So,
Sounds like being local really made a big difference in the way that the speed at which we recovered. So
Absolutely.
that actually is very helpful. Appreciate that, John. I think we have time for one more question.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Tessa Lesage. I work at Collaboratory. I'm a future maker. I have a workforce question. So I know that a lot of our larger businesses and ones that have been more established have disaster plans, continuity plans, phone trees, all of these things. Recently, I read and was at a conference and heard that 90% of businesses that don't open within 5 days of a disaster will close permanently. So I'm curious, how do we work together to help our businesses, nonprofit organizations, our employers across Lee County and across Southwest Florida start to think about how this becomes part of their business planning and their way of operating?
So, as Gary had talked about, working on the Business Impact Committee, we're trying to develop something that is tangible, that people have, a script, if you will, to be able to action these things so they are able. For those of you who don't know, NeoGenomics is a cancer diagnostic testing facility. So we have to prep and plan and shut down days well in advance because we have to reroute samples and those type of things. And although we're large and we have a business continuity plan, there's a lot of tactical things that happen and things don't go as planned. And dates and timelines that people give you are not always accurate. So there's always that little bit of fire drill, if you will, that you have to go through. But as large as our organization is, we were able to open up 2 days after the hurricane. And that does speak, to the plans and the business continuity. We were actually able to open up, but we weren't able to get samples in because our infrastructure was not able to keep up with us, which we spent a lot of time on employees. But I do think that to help answer that is, as a community, I think we're doing what we can with Gary's task force and getting that information and culminating things and getting that out as quickly as possible. I think there are also plans to have additional workshops. It's really going to be up to us as this group and community leaders to advertise those and get people to that. And I'm sure if the Collaboratory would like to host something, Gary would be more than happy to do something there as well.
That's a great idea. Thank you. I wish we had more time. We're just kind of really tight on time. We would like to continue to get your questions. We're building a survey that'll go out to everybody on the Horizon Council, guests, and the list of businesses within the FGCU's database. It's very, very important to us on this committee that we be able to deliver to those businesses, how to prepare better, how to open faster. And for the points that you made, in order to demonstrate the resiliency of Lee County, which I think is very important to everybody in the room, we have to do this. So it's an issue that we're taking on as aggressively as we can, and we need your input. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to the panel. Also, great information.
Again, thank you to all of you who made this discussion very lively. And thanks to our panelists, to our moderator, and to Gary and the committee who brought this forward. We move to our voting member input. So if anyone that's a voting member would like to share some news, this is your time to do so. Yes. Going once, going twice. All right. Special thanks to our hosts, Florida Southwestern, Dr. Albertson, thank you so much. Our BOCC, our executive committee. There is no meeting in July. We will reconvene on August 25th here again. And with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn? All right.